This podcast is brought to you by the Bowhunters Challenge. Go to www.bowhunterschallenge.com to become a better looking, better performing bowhunter.
Hey there, and welcome to Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm your host, Matty, and join me and our guests as we take the quality of meat back into our own hands. Searching the wild for free-ranged animals to harvest as ethically as we can. I interview a variety of specialists from the bowhunting community to help fast-track your journey as a bowhunter. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this chinwag on one of your favorite topics in the world, bowhunting.
Team, what is up? Welcome back to another episode of Becoming a Bowhunter. I'm stoked to share this one with you, sitting down with Lonnie Broekman today. We're talking about a few different things, everything ranging from raising kids up in the hunting community, even just raising kids in general. We talk about one of the recent backpack high country hunts that Lonnie has done, as well as talking about release aids and moving more into the actual target panic side of things. So I think this is a really cool podcast. It's got some really, I don't know, it just felt very authentic. It felt awesome. It was a good conversation. It's somewhat, oh my words. It's one that I wanted to keep going. Really, when I was with Lonnie, I just enjoy his company. I enjoy the conversation. I think you guys will too. So here it is. Enjoy.
Alrighty, bowhunters, welcome back. Sitting here with Lonnie Broekman. Lonnie, welcome back, mate. Two-timer.
Yeah. Thanks for having me again.
Very welcome. I'm excited for this one. I actually, often when I meet people in the face that have been listening to the podcast, they'll come up and ask me what my favorite episode has been to do. And I actually often go back to the one that we first did. The first episode that we did is one of the favorite episodes I did because it was a bit spontaneous, but also just a lot of the talk that we talked about with the foxes in particular and the straight application that I found from what you gave us in regards to the fox whistling, and going and be able to apply that straight away, because I went out to a block not too soon after that had some foxes on it. And I actually called in cats straight afterwards rather than foxes, but I've used it to call in foxes now as well. I'm yet to get my own fox down, but I'm stoked to at least have the method to get them in. So yeah, it's definitely one of the favorite ones on the list. So well done for that.
Yeah, well, actually, it was good actually. I got a lot of feedback actually from that. A lot of guys just sort of touching base with me. Oh, what about this and what about that? And it was good to, it was good to help a few guys out. And I actually got a couple of photos through in the coming months of guys that had taken their first foxes. Yes. A guy, his first fox, and his wife actually shot her first fox as well. So.
That's incredible.
That was pretty good. And and man, like I'm by no means a friggin' master of it by no means, but like I put it over. That's just what works for me, and it was good to see the feedback, mate.
Yeah, definitely. No, and that's why I really enjoy sharing this content. Like when people get to come back and say, "Hey, dude, thank you so much for that." And it's awesome when they reach out to the actual guests as well and say thank you for what you did, because it is like, I think we're very lucky and very fortunate in regards to that we've got this platform to be able to use, the online platform, and it's so much easier than even 10 years ago, let alone 50 years ago, like to be able to actually sit here and talk and then be able to share our conversation. Like it was almost unheard of back in the day unless you were reading a magazine. So it's super cool to have this platform.
Yeah, and it really does, mate. Like it shortens that learning curve fully, doesn't it? Like when I was first getting into bow hunting, there was no one around me that bow hunted really. So it was just through magazines, and at that stage I didn't have social media at all.
Yeah.
So it was just through magazines, and then one thing led to another, and learn a bit here, learn a bit there, and then met a few other guys that were sort of into it as well. And then I got social media and I was like, what the hell is this
It's a
beast?
beast, yeah.
What's this beast? Yeah, but, you know, since then I've friggin', you know, I've reached out to a bunch of guys out there and they've helped me out well. So
that's also what I love about it,
It
right?
is really good, mate, yeah.
The community is so willing to give.
Yeah, yeah.
I
think...
sorry, go on.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, do you remember reading any articles from any magazines and them being like a big turning point, like an aha moment for you before social media or anything like that came about?
For me, the biggest thing that I got from like bowhunting magazines was the hunting that was sort of done abroad. You know, like up until sort of when I picked up the bow, like I was just always focused on pig hunting. I was just pig mad, and I still am. But as a young kid, I'd sit and watch westerns with my dad and whatnot. All these, you know, North America, and you know, you see these grizzly bears and moose and stuff in these movies, and it's like, oh yeah, awesome, you know. But I never combined the fact that I was a hunter and, you know, these were animals that actually could be hunted back then.
Yeah,
like I was just that focused on hunting pigs. And it wasn't until I got into bow hunting and started reading the magazines and reading these stories, I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. That's all. You know, how cool is this? And I was sort of went down that road, and then I guess I sort of felt like I was like, I don't know, like I just felt like I had a short period of time to do a hell of a lot of things. I was like, what have I been doing for the last 25 years? You know what I mean? So I guess as far as what I took from magazines, it was probably down that road more than educational purposes, I suppose. But
it's funny that you say that because I've been bow hunting for just over 3 years now, and I always had the mindset of I need to get it done now. Like it was always like, fuck, you got to get out so you can get it done now. But then the more I think about it, like it's there for life now. Like I'm not leaving bow hunting at all. It's something that's always going to be stuck in my blood and my brains, no matter how hard I try to get rid of it if I ever wanted to. But I think realistically now it's like, okay, well, I invite the journey more so because I know it's like, okay, there's a long road ahead of you yet in the bow hunting world. So it's almost, I think having that little transition in my mind in particular, I found it's allowed me to slow down at times. It's allowed me to kind of appreciate the moment a bit more when I'm out there bow hunting rather than trying to rush it and make it get the job done. Yeah,
I can definitely agree with you there. I actually, for the first few years, I felt like I was in a big rush as well. And the last couple of years especially, haven't done nowhere near as much hunting as what I used to. Yep. In saying that, son's sort of getting a little bit older now and getting to that age where he's really good to interact with. He can do a hell of a lot more things, and so I'm spending a lot more time with him. Makes it a little bit harder to get away from him because he's always wanting to come. But
definitely,
which is cool. Which is definitely cool as well. But I was always, what's next, and I guess social media, in that sense, it doesn't really help either. You're constantly seeing what's coming through, and you start to play the compare game, and you're like, oh, I should be doing this and I should be doing that, and what you should be doing is just chilling the F out and then enjoying it for what it is.
Definitely,
you know what I mean, and you know, compare yourself to yourself. You know, don't get caught in that trap and just enjoy it for what it is. And
I think it's so easy to really miss a day when you're out there. Like you can be thinking about what you're meant to be doing instead of actually taking in the birds that are around you, like the different, I don't know, flora and fauna that are there. Like it's crazy. It's so easy just to miss that stuff. And on the weekend, when I got out, I was walking onto this. I'd found this little forky. He was hanging out on this ridge line, and the winds were horrible. And I was like kind of rushing to get to him, and then I heard this little cheeping, like cheep, cheep, cheep. And I was like, what the fuck? Where's that coming from? And I couldn't make it out at all. And I was just trying to find this bird, looking all over the place. Turned out it was little quails down on the ground, and they were so small. There was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them getting around, and there was these little baby quails just hammering through, and you can't really see them because they're the color of the ground because it's all brown and yellow at the moment. Mm-hmm. And just that little moment was like enough for me to go, hold up, slow down. Like, remember, there's a lot of stuff going on around you right now. You don't need to rush this. Yeah. It was a nice little reminder.
Yeah, smell the roses, mate.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I can fully understand that. I'm guilty of it myself, don't worry.
But something I did want to actually talk to you about was the whole fact you've got a son and you're starting to take him out hunting. You're starting to bring him into that world. And I've got a daughter. She's 20 months old, and it's something that I definitely long to do eventually is get her out. And it was cool on the weekend while I was away. My wife was like, whenever Mads would ask for me, my daughter, whenever she'd ask for me, my wife would say, yeah, Daddy's out going to get meat. He's going hunting. And so all weekend then, she'd, Daddy hunting, Daddy meat. Like, is cool to kind of hear that it's already getting ingrained in her head, I guess, to that sense. What, I guess for you, is there any kind of, not even a process you're trying to follow, but is there anything that you're really trying to, I guess, pass off to your son as you go through this next journey of introducing him to it?
Yeah, so it's something that I guess in the early years, and even before him, when I thought of how good would it be to have a son or a daughter or whatever to take away hunting, they'd be coming with me every single time and be doing this and doing that, and even for the first couple of years at Henry, since Henry was born, I guess I didn't really give it too much thought because I guess he was too little to really process and understand anything about it. But it's not until they can actually communicate with you and have, I mean, he's 5 years old, so as an in-depth conversation as a 5-year-old can have, mind you, he could probably hold a better conversation than what I could, but you get what I mean? Like it, what am I trying to say? Like, I'd never really give it a whole lot of thought until, I guess, the last sort of 12 months. I'm like, how do I deliver to him what hunting actually is and get him to understand it on a level that, isn't going to affect him? Because, like, let's be honest, like it's at times it's not pretty at times. And I really struggled with, and my wife as well, like, how do we showcase this to our son and have him sort of understand it? Because it's not wholly and solely from me.
No.
It's not wholly and solely just for the hunt and what a hunt encompasses as well either, which is a broad, as we all know, it's a broad range of things that sort of coincides with everything that sort of comes under the hunting banner, I guess. And we were sort of hit with that, and I sort of, for the last 6 months, I've ticked it over in my head how I'm going to do it, and I guess sort of I thought to myself, like, I guess you can't really appreciate life until you understand what death is, I guess. And so we've always told Henry about his great grand. She's a brighter star up in the sky, etc. And I guess over the last sort of 6 months, he's asked more questions. Oh, great granny's up there and whatnot. And he sort of asked questions as to why. And we haven't held anything back from Henry. We've sort of we've done our best to deliver it on a level that he can understand. That once something dies, it's gone. You'll never get to touch it or see it in the flesh again. It's gone.
Yeah.
And just of late, he's really started to understand it. We actually had to put our dog down about 12 months ago.
Yeah.
And maybe 18 months ago, no more than that. But at that stage, he didn't really understand that. He just, Bobo was gone.
Yeah.
And it was just a few weeks ago, and like we've explained to him, what had happened, but it was just a few weeks ago. I was driving along, and he just started to cry in the car, and he's like, I miss Bobo, and you could fully tell that he was weren't just crocodile tears. He knew what it meant because we had told him. So anyway, long story short, come to the long weekend, just gone. Let's go away hunting, camping. So with Henry, I guess understanding now, sort of like I said, on a 5-year-old level, what actual death is. So would you like to go hunting? Because at that stage we were just going camping,
Yeah.
I said, would you like to do some hunting while we're away camping? And he's like, yeah, sure. He's got his camo clothes out, and he was been getting real pumped about it. Anyway, we get to the property, and he's like, when are we going hunting? When are we going hunt? He was really pumped for it. And I'm like, mate, do you understand that once we decided to shoot something, because I took my rifle and I did take the bow as well, but I didn't get it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, I said, you understand that if we come across a pig and I shoot it, it's going to be gone. Blah blah blah, and he was really excited for it, and he handled it really well. We first walk, got onto a few pigs, and I said, mate, you sure you want Daddy to shoot one? And he was like, yeah. He was super pumped, and shot one, and it was only a small one, and it killed it and whatnot. And luckily it was right beside a creek, and I just said, just wait here, mate. So I went and grabbed it, and I washed all the blood off it, and sort of made it as presentable as I could for him, so he wasn't like grossed out.
Fly by, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Like I'm sure at some stage he's going to go to school, and Dad,
might be said.
like you got to think of these things, and it's not until recent times that I've really given it that much thought of how I'm going to display this to my son. You know what I mean? Like, and I want to do it in a way that he respects the animals, and he gets why we're there doing it. You know what I mean? So after that, spent the next hour and a half walking up and down the creek. There was a ton of sign in the creek. There was heaps of digging and heaps of wallers in the creek, and then we went down to the feed lot, and it's like, see where the farmers feeding the cattle and that here. The pigs come in here each night, and there was a pig trap there and whatnot. And I just explained to him, that not all the meat that we hunt we will eat. And then I explained the balance of the things. I was like, you can't have X amount of land with, tons and tons of pigs that, it's going to offset, the other animals.
Balance, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and just sort of explain to it like that, like in terms that he could sort of understand. And yeah, it actually come out pretty well. Like since he's been home, he's been super pumped to go back out. So
yeah.
We'll
when I think about it, I was probably about 5 years old when my dad first took me out and we shot some rabbits. Maybe and it might have been a little bit a little bit younger when he shot rabbits in front of us, and then he kind of then introduced us to shooting them with the rifle, and it was an exciting time. And Dad being a vet, like there was always that love for animals first, so it was always like we had that understanding. It's interesting. Bringing Mads up into it, like something I've done in front of her before was butchered a pig up, just to like we kind of thought it was almost important for her to start to see that straight away, start to see that we are getting meat from animals, and it does come from,
absolutely,
from that process. And it's funny, like we go through and we do all the farm animal noises, and it comes to chicken, she bark, and then the other night we were eating chicken, or this is a few months ago, we're eating chicken. She goes, bark, bark, bark. I'm like, yeah, that's right. It's bark, bark. Like, that's exactly
Absolutely.
right. But because I think what happens is with animal stories, essentially animal stories for kids, you've got the animal toys for kids. There's that animorph, I can't remember what the name is, but it's pretty much the humanization of animals, and then it becomes really hard for kids to kind of see the difference as to hold up as a friend or foe, or they don't understand that it's not. Especially if you don't have a hunter as a parent, like it's hard to then say, well, hold up, like that fluffy bear, and then you've gone and shot the fluffy bear, but the fluffy bear's friendly. Like, what's the deal? And so it is obviously. I'd never really thought about it going into the school life where you've got potentially a lot of other precious families around that are going to potentially have a few things to say about it. If the kids go into the school and start talking about the hunting weekend. But I also think it's something that is lost and it needs to be introduced in that young age. So by Henry going to school and talking about it, or by Mads going to school when she's old enough and talking about it, I almost feel like it starts to shed a little bit of light on a situation that has been so lost. I was saying to my auntie on the weekend, because she's the farm owner, my auntie and my uncle, and I was saying to them on the weekend, like, I actually can't wait until she can come out with me, because this is a deeper story, actually. So last week here in Brisbane, there was 2 kids that committed suicide, both 13-year-olds. One was a young girl, and she did a TikTok dance, posted it up on TikTok, and then jumped off the school building. And the other was a kid who was playing on the computer all day long. His dad told him to hop off the computer, and so he hopped off the computer and went and hung himself in his bedroom. And I said to my auntie, like, it's a very changing world with social media and the way that kids are raised right now in front of a screen. And something that I believe that hunting and hiking and getting outdoors gives you is some form of hardship, which I almost feel like people are not going through that form of hardship that we used to have to go through, like by living on the farm or living on the land or getting the chance to be outdoors all the time. Like here in Brizzy, you don't see kids on the street. Like it's pretty much you lock your kids away. And I understand that from a predator point of view, but at the same time, it's like, well, they just get stuck in front of a screen. So what sort of life is that giving them, apart from making anxious young individuals who can't deal with that hardship when they do get some. So I'm like, I can't wait. That was what the whole conversation came from. I'm like, I can't wait until I can take Mads out. Like as soon as she's old enough to start walking alongside with me, I'm taking her out so she can walk out and have the struggles up the hills and do those bits and pieces, just so it starts to teach her to work hard for a good life, I guess. Like, and it's always that situation where you go out for a hunt and you have the shittest weekend of hunting, but you come away so happy from it because you've just slogged it out, and it's like they're the best experiences almost. Yeah,
no, I completely agree. And both Emma and I, we actually had a friend that Emma used to work with reach out to her the other day and say, you guys, the best weekends, like everything we do is like so contrasting. Like one weekend we could be walking along the beach, the next weekend we could be camping, the next weekend we'll be doing something totally different. Like, and I guess I just want Henry to be well-rounded in all walks of life, not just what I do in my hunting or whatever, but I don't want him to have an easy, straightforward life. I want him to have hardships, and I want him to have to work for things. I want him to respect animals. I want him to, I think I'd have these tough conversations with myself over, taking my son hunting. It's just thought, rip, tear, bust, but it's actually, you got to actually think about it before you dive straight in the deep end, because you're not just exposing your children, you're exposing the children around him and the teachers. And I couldn't agree more. I think the more people that we can expose to what actually goes on as opposed to what people think goes on, I think that's going to be the future of hunting going forward, you know.
Definitely.
I think if we're not portraying something that's good for hunting in the outdoors, I guess you got to ask yourself that question before you post a picture or before you take your child out on some stupid bloodthirsty weekend and you know, displayed in a bad, unethical way. I think if you're not doing it for the well-being of it, I really think you should check your moral compass and have a think about it. So.
Yeah, I actually had a one-on-one client today, and he was saying to me that a few of there's like his brother's mates growing up they're all about the whacking and stacking. And when he found out that I was a hunter, he kind of thought just because that's what his I guess introduction to hunting was, that's exactly what I went out and did. And I told him about the deer that I got down the weekend. I told him about like my whole little process that I went through afterwards. And he's like, wow, it is quite a respectful thing. It's not just going out and killing something. I was just like, no, heck no. Like, there's definitely remorse.
No, that's
every
like the
time
least
you pull
bit.
the trigger. Yeah, exactly. And one of the biggest things I had to come to terms with was the fact that I was not going to be able to get all of the meat off the mountain. Where I was and where I was going to be able to drag the deer to, there was no way that I could get it far enough without ruining things to actually get like a car to it or to get something to it. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to have to do what I can, get as much of it as I can.
Yep.
I did a good job of it, but at the same time, there was that little bit of extra remorse of like, hold up, you've just taken this life, yet you're not going to take all of the meat, like you're not going to utilize it all. I'm like, you're doing a pretty darn good job. You can't beat yourself up for all of that.
No, that's right. And I mean, are you going to take the whole hide? Are you going to take the bones for bone broth? Are you going to, you know, where do you stop? And it's not like, you know, and I think if you're taking a mental note of that and you're asking yourself those questions, I think your heart and your mind's in the right spot from the get-go straight away. So and it's not like the remains of the animal on the ground are going to waste. I mean,
no, exactly.
How many animals have you just fed off that carcass?
Exactly right.
You know what I mean? So, and you know, you might have got a couple of dogs in there and a couple of pigs, but you know, how many goannas come in and picked at it, and how many native birds picked at it? And, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah,
even right down to the grubs and the bugs, right? Like it's all there.
Yeah, it's like a mate of mine. It all goes back into the earth. It feeds the earth and everything on it. So.
Yeah, that's good. I'd actually not thought of that at all, so that's awesome. You just lifted a load off my chest. With that being said, you actually did a really cool hunt recently down in the high country, and all I know is that it looked cold. It looked very cold. What can you kind of tell us about the lead up to it? What was the whole purpose was to go out chasing sambar, right? Like, have you done much before that with sambar?
Yes.
Yeah, give us the rundown.
So I have hunted sambar before. There's a few around here, but sort of few and far between type thing. So hooked up with a mate down in Victoria, and we were supposed to go down last year, and for obvious reasons that didn't come to fruition. So it was pushed back to this year, and finally. We got back from a red deer hunt up your way and locked in some dates in May to fly down and hunt sambar for 4 days. I think we were 4 days. I think I was gone, but so proper cold. Don't get me wrong. Like we get snow up here, and it gets friggin' freezing here too. Don't worry, but yeah, not like that. One morning there, I woke up and inside I had my boots inside my tent, literally less than a foot away from my head, and they were rock solid. Like I'm talking you could not push the sides in with your thumb. They were rock bloody solid.
Far out. It's crazy that your body can deal with that, right? Like even though your face was exposed to it, you still obviously were in one piece.
So I slept with a balaclava on.
You did? Wow.
Yeah, I slept with the balaclava on. I slept with puffy pants and a down jacket inside a down bag with a liner, and I had an insulated pad as well.
Far out.
Yeah.
What was the rating of your bag?
Don't get me wrong.
Do you know?
My bags are -4 comfort.
Yeah.
It's a Cedar Summit Micro 3, I think.
Okay.
850 loft down bag. Good bag. Pay for it. But yeah, it's it's a good bag. Like I don't know whether I'd go for a down bag in really wet conditions.
Okay.
Just because you lose that loft
damp at all, or it wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
So I've had it for about maybe 4 years, and I've been in tons of rain. Like usually I'm up until sort of recently I've always been a hammock man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been in a bunch of rain in the hammock, and yeah, that sleeping bag's been saturated, and yeah, it does lose its loft, and it's probably not going to be as warm as a synthetic bag.
Yeah.
When it gets wet, but no, I haven't had any issues with it. Where I got the bag wet was sort of in my local area and it was in March. It was sort of the lead up to the rut a couple of years ago. Got like 5 inches of rain in one night. Yeah. and the hammock actually held up quite well, but yeah, after fucking 5 inches of rain, like some of it's coming in.
Yeah, just imagine cartoon style of like spinning around in the hammock with the winds and the water.
It was friggin' super windy too, so it was sideways rain, and being a hammock, as you know, like you
swing side to side. Yeah.
Well, all the water goes to the bottom, so you're literally sitting in the puddle. Yeah, so
one of those hunts that makes you feel
ideal, but no, that bag handled well.
Yeah, and so like the boys obviously. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I toughed it out. I was actually thinking about walking back to the truck in the night, and I'm thinking, I'm just going to get even wetter. Toughed it out, freezing cold. Got up in the morning and shot a PB Billy. So
yes, it was worth it. Yep, definitely. And so for this trip, the boys had obviously kind of warned you, hey, it's going to be chilly. Like, make sure you bring your layers.
Yeah.
And
yeah, so I guess I knew to a certain extent what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually going to trial a new bivvy that I just recently bought. It's a MacPack bivvy, and just with a little light tarp over the top should the weather get bad. Got to a few days out, and there was a bunch of rain, and I could see the temperatures were going to drop right down. So I still took it down there, but I left it out of the pack and took a different shelter.
Yeah, okay.
One that I've used in the past. It's bomb-proof tent. So
yeah. And did you know, like, how heavy was your pack going in?
18 kilos.
Okay, and that is including food, like snacks and stuff for the way?
That's including food, not including water. So I only carry a litre, so it would have 19 kilo, give or take.
And so you've just got a filter that you take with you?
I do, yeah. So it's an MSR Auto, I believe it is. It's got like a 5 or 6 litre bag, and it's just a gravity fed through the filter.
Does it filter pretty quickly?
It does. Obviously, with a new filter,
way better. Yeah,
it flows through a lot better. The filter that's on it's starting to get a bit how you going now, but look, it beats bloody sitting there water. I mean, pumps are good if you're unable to sort of scoop the water up.
Yeah,
pumps are good. You can sort of get right down into the nitty gritty of a shallow puddle. But I don't know. For me, even in a shallow puddle, I just scoop the water out with me drinking cup or something like that, and then transfer it into the bag to through, and then it goes straight into a Nalgene. Yeah, and that's the thing with my filter. It's got like a screw on the bottom that goes straight to a Nalgene.
Yeah, okay.
So I can screw that straight onto my Nalgene, walk away, be doing some other activity, while that's going, and then come back to it.
Yeah.
Should I need to? Like, I've seen those pumps, and they look like hard work. Like if you're up in the territory, when I was up there last, I think in one day we drank 8 litres. If you're sitting there pumping 8 litres of water, 40 degree heat, you know what I mean. Like I just don't think it's worth it. And also take the before you actually get the drink, may as well just put the hose straight in your mouth.
Yeah. There's actually a company that we do a lot of work with. They're really good with filtering out fluoride in your regular tap, not like town water and stuff, but they've got a product that have just it's been released for a while for pretty much outdoorsmen. The company's called Epic Water. I haven't looked at it enough, but it's pretty much the same thing. They can connect to the Nalgene bottles, and they've also got, I'm pretty sure, a bag system that you can attach it to your own. This is like what someone else had told me, so I don't know how true it is, but you can attach it to your Camelback, so it filters through just as you suck the water straight through it. So
that's a good idea.
Yeah, I haven't actually looked into it fully, but from what someone else had told me, I think that's what they do, which would be sick.
Yeah, that is a good idea. Another good thing with my filter, I can be at a water source, fill up my water bottle and any other containers that I'm carrying water in, and then if I'm heading back away from that source and I know I'm going to need X amount of water for my meal of a night or a coffee in the afternoon or another coffee in the morning or whatever, I can just fill that sack back up, roll the top over, and it's got a little connector, and then I can just throw that on the outside of my pack, and I've got another 5 litres there, ready to rock and roll whenever I need it. I guess it is a good setup, and it weighs virtually nothing. So
it's well thought out.
It folds up to, rolls up to be less than a Coke can, say.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah,
and that's the sort of stuff. Like obviously, you start to pay a fair bit for this stuff when you're going out backpack hunting, but it's all very worthwhile in that sense, right? Like rather than taking a ute load, you're taking a backpack load, so it's trying to make sure that everything fits in that backpack. And someone told me once that when you're going out backpack hunting, you start to look at $500 per item that's in your bag. Just about like if you want to get top of the line, so it becomes a very expensive little ordeal, but. It's also like every extra dollar you spend, you tend to get, one, better quality, but also two, a lighter weight product, right?
Yeah, and light's not always the best. Light's good, especially especially for me with me buddy, with me crooked back. So I like light, but in saying that, I also like to be comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, after a couple of days of living out of your backpack in the middle of nowhere, the mental games start to creep in.
Yeah.
And it's easy to pull the pin and I'll just come back in a fortnight and have another crackdown or whatever. But if you got the little comforts that can keep you in the game longer, you might just shoot a PB Billy.
Yeah,
like I did.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I
Can
mean?
make
Yeah.
all the difference.
Yeah.
And so the place you were going to, were you on public land or private land for the sand hunt?
Public land.
Yeah.
Yep. So I was up in the high country. The gates were closed, so it was just drive as far as you can, and don the backpacks and start footing it out. So
yeah, far out.
it was awesome. Like the snow and the cold weather that we got, like it was what I would say a decent snow dump. It was only, I guess, well, actually, it probably wasn't a decent snow dump. Like I'm not used to seeing snow, you know. So, I mean, those guys were probably like, oh, it's not a whole heap of snow, but for me, it was sort of.
Yeah.
Not great for the deer. They'll drop elevation and get out of it and get back into the better feed. But look, I was stoked with the hunting and everything that it brought with it. Like I don't get to see that type of stuff. I don't get to wake up with a tent covered in snow and not even be able to see your arrows on your bow because they're just cagged with snow. You can't even look through your sight housing of your sight because it's full of snow and frozen boots and I like all that sort of thing. So
yeah, definitely just something different.
It comes with the experience, and you know, I think really that's all what we strive for is that experience. So
I saw the picture that you put up of your bow. I think you just checked on your stories, and it was crazy. But
yeah,
like, is it even usable once it gets to that stage?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
So can you draw it back? I kind of saw it, and I was like, wow, I wonder if you could still draw back without breaking anything.
Yeah, I would have drawn it back probably without even thinking, to be honest. Obviously, I wouldn't have put an arrow in it like that because 100% it wouldn't have gone where I wanted it to. But I would have had to cut the ice off it. But I don't know. I guess it would.
Yeah, I can't remember who I talked to. I think it was one of the guys from the States who was saying that the different qualities of bows. It might have even actually been the bowhunting coach. He might have been saying it because of his trip over to do their what were they doing?
Their Greenland
the
hunt?
muskox, yeah.
The muskox?
Yeah. And I think he was saying that the different types of bows, some of them will freeze over, whereas some of them won't. Maybe the carbon won't, whereas the aluminium will, or vice versa. I don't know my metals too well, but yeah.
Yeah, I got a timber grip on my bow, and it's a carbon bow, so I don't know. Another guy in camp, he had a Bowtech with an alley riser.
Yeah.
It was covered. Another guy had a rifle, so I don't know exactly how the bows would have held up, but if I was in range with the Samba, mate, I would have been the last thing I'd have been thinking of.
And so was it a lot of just kind of hiking to get to a location, then just glassing to try find?
That's how I was expecting it to be.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of blokes that's how they roll. This particular area, there was some glassing there, don't get me wrong, but it was mainly just still hunting. It was a little bit thick for glassing. Oh, you could definitely glass sort of
patches.
up to 100, 200 yards type thing, but there wasn't actually like a valley that you could. Well, there was a valley that you could look over, but the chances of spotting you think within the trees would be pretty slim. But, but there was areas that we did go to where you could definitely do that, and we did. But yeah, it was a great hunt, and put the gear to the test. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And did you get much of a actual chance on any deer?
Seen a few. One of the guys shot one with a rifle. He actually he had one of the Paul Bogue. I think his name's Paul Bogue. He's got a sambar deer collar.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a very similar to a cow elk collar, and he took that for the first time, and we'd hunted for a couple of days, and we'd sort of done a few setups with it, and didn't get anything to come in, and and then one afternoon I went one way and he went the other way with his rifle.
Yeah.
I'd only been walking for an hour at the most, and heard a shot ring out, and I had phone reception. I texted him. I said, "Are we on or what?" And he sent back the thumbs up, and he had called one in.
Fire out.
He set up and let out a few calls, and this hind come straight into about 80 metres, and
I was actually
shot her in the chest, and
the Paul Bogues.
It is, eh?
Yeah. I was just checking it out and accidentally pressed play on, or no, I just accidentally opened up the video. So sorry to the listeners who are going to cop that quick bit of noise. But no, that's crazy. I'd never even heard of that before.
Yeah, I definitely need to get one. Like for the sambar that I've been hunting around here, I've just been using a Primo Hoochie Mama, and I haven't had any luck around here. But like I said, the sort of few and far between here. But by the sounds of it, the guys down south are having some pretty good success with them. Yeah.
And so that backstrap that you had in camp that was completely frozen over, that was from that deer, obviously.
Yeah. So we hiked to a camp down there. Some of the camps down there are just incredible. Like when the gates are open, some of the campsites that you could get to are just unbelievable for a family.
Yep.
Like you could just pull up and just have the best view.
That's incredible.
Awesome. So that particular night, we were at one of these big camps. It wasn't so much in a bush camp. It was like an actual designated camp spot that you could only access at that time of the year on foot, obviously. But in the past, someone had left that big timber board there.
Yeah, okay.
So we're like, oh, cool. Like we got a chopping board, and then we thought, we'll make use of that. And we put the back straps on it that night, and we cut a heap of meat off the fillet and cooked it on a stick over the fire, as you do. And the next morning, mate, it was proper cold. And I walked out there and I peeled one of the back straps off and just sort of held it out. And I'm like, the back straps are the same behind there,
big.
Not far short of like a metre long type thing.
Yeah.
And like you can literally hold this thing out straight. It's like you're holding a piece of wood, you know what I mean?
Yeah, look proper stiff.
Oh, mate, it was cold. But it was a really, really good experience, mate. I can't wait to get back down there, to be honest. I'm hoping to get down there again this year.
Would you go, is it that, like, that's the prime time to kind of go for it in May, or?
Mate, I think early May probably would have been better.
Mm-hmm.
I say this, and there's probably, thousands of guys sort of screaming at me, probably going, no, this time here. I'm not a sambar hunter's ass, as you probably, or as you've all probably worked out. I'd like early March before that snow, I think there would have been, for where we were hunting anyway, I think there would have been a few more numbers up the top.
Yeah, okay.
Because we were hunting were hunting between 1,300 metres and 1,600 metres. So we're pretty high.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so whatever snow sort of dropped, we were sort of copping. So I think those animals would have dropped elevation for sure. But I think maybe May or into the spring when that snow melts and everything sort of starts to flower again. I'm guessing the animals will move back up to the top, perhaps. Yeah, to be honest, mate, I don't really know enough about them to sort of to give an opinion, mate. To be honest, but I will endeavour to find out. Don't worry.
No, that's good. Something else you actually posted about recently, which I think is a really good and a really deep conversation to have about in bow hunting, is the target panic that I don't know how long you've been suffering with it for, but it's something that you have gone through. And it's interesting because we've often talked just over Messenger, and I've said to you at times, like, I'm sure you're shooting just like that or something like that. You're like, mate, I wouldn't be so sure. Can you kind of dive into like what's happened with your target panic and what you've tried to do and what's working well for you at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So I've probably had it on and off for maybe 5 or 6 years, on and off. And I think the first time I tried to cure it, I changed from a wrist release to a thumb trigger.
Yeah.
And that sort of that helped, but just for a short period of time. It just sort of masked the real issue of having that. I guess I'll say it now. I'm no expert, that's for sure. Masking that mental strength of, I guess, holding it together.
Yeah.
The issues that I have, my target panic, and there's all different sorts. From what I understand, there's people that hold off to the right, or there's some people that can't even, get their finger on the trigger, or some people, if it's back tension, they'll send the back tension release through the riser of their bow, and there's all sorts of things. But for me, I just lock on like an inch or 2 inches below where I want to hit.
Yeah. And
it just feels like there's a house on my arm, and I just cannot lift that bow arm up to get it on the target. And what that does is you'll be sitting just low, and then as you go to fire, you'll quickly lift your bow arm up.
Yeah.
And shoot. I guess it's the brain trying to be more efficient in the process. I guess its natural thing to do is to become more efficient in each. I guess I don't know how to say it. Each stage that you're doing, or each thing you do, it tries to quicken the process, or tries to skip the skip to the next stage. Yeah. Sort of hard, bloody trying to explain it, but so that's my deal. And for the last few years, I've tried on and off when I've had it bad to fix it, and it'll go away and it'll come back and blah blah blah, and then just recently it's come back again, and I'm just like, you know what, fuck this. I've had a gut full of it, and I'm just really, really focused on whether it's going to be gone for good.
Yeah,
I don't know, but from what I understand is that you constantly got to go back and do your training drills and reset. Yeah, go back to your basics, I guess, and do what works for you to keep it in check, because from what I understand, it'll keep coming back and rearing its ugly head. So, look, so I've just been practicing with the training aid in my release. I shoot a Stand Perfects thumb release. It's not the back tension model. They do a back tension model.
Yeah.
This is the trigger, but it's got the training pin in it that locks it. So you still get that. You still get that same travel in your thumb that you normally would, and you still get the same click as you normally would, but it just won't fire.
Yeah.
So I started doing that, and as soon as I knew that I wasn't going to fire a shot, that pen will hover around in that dot.
Fine. Yeah.
Fucking all day, not a problem. And so I started doing that, executing the shot. Obviously, it's not going off, and then I would let down. Done that for a couple of weeks, and then took the pin out to activate the release, and then I just started to draw back the bow, kept my thumb off the trigger. Done that for a little while, and then I introduced the thumb back on the trigger.
So you draw back and then release back down, not actually shooting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Not just not shooting.
Yeah.
And then after a while, up until the other day, I actually hadn't been shooting the shot. I was just constantly letting down. But getting in that position to shoot, thumb on the trigger, in the shooting position, letting that pen hover around in the target, and then just letting down, just being comfortable with that. You know, I don't have to shoot this shot.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just let down. It's all good. Fucking calm down. And and anyway, Brad Murphy actually he commented on the post. He was like, "Oh, I put a post on Instagram just sort of saying what I'm doing," and he's like, "Oh, if you need any help, just sing out." So I was like, "Oh yeah, beauty." So I DM'd him there the other day and spoke to him over the phone, and he's been super, super helpful.
Yeah.
If you're listening, Brad, thank you very much. So he's actually got me now shooting the shot. And yeah, just I will change to a back tension.
Yeah.
Because that urge to hit the thumb is still there.
Yeah.
I guess probably where I'm at now, like I've got the pin sitting on the target fine. Come back to full draw, thumb on the trigger, settle me peep and my pin, and I'd say 1 out of 5 I can execute like a back tension style release, as opposed to actual thumb release. Mm-hmm. I'm probably up to about 1 out of 5 shots is a good execution.
So for those who don't understand what Lonnie's saying there, essentially when you've got a back tension release, it's a surprise shot, so you continue to pull through. And so if you're using a thumb trigger, essentially you're pulling your release essentially into your thumb until it just automatically fires the shot. Whereas with a back tension release, you don't have a trigger to pull, so you just keep pulling back until it shoots. So it's essentially you're trying to do that with a trigger release, is what you're talking about there with those 1 in every 5 shots you're getting.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're putting that release in your hand and your thumb on the trigger, and just by pulling your elbow back. Essentially, the bowstring is pulling that release further into your hand, and just that pressure automatically just engages the trigger. So you actually, you're right. You're basically using it as a back tension release, but I guess probably 4 out of the 5 shots. I still know that it's a trigger release, and I'm getting a little bit antsy. Whereas if I take that out of the equation completely, with a back tension release, I think I'll move on to the next stage of curing it. Hopefully,
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because it's painful.
Yeah, I can imagine, man.
It is. It's painful.
I've watched a fair few videos on it. It's not something that I've necessarily suffered from. I definitely used to do the drive-bys where it's kind of like you line up. I would line up and just go straight up and take my shot as I'd pass through, sort of thing, which is something that you mentioned in your post. And that was something that I was doing for a while. Now I realized that's horrible technique and not what you should be doing. This is before I think I'd even really properly started the podcast or anything. So as I kind of grew, I learned. But watch some videos from Joel Turner and watch some videos from Levi Morgan as well, because he's got a fair thing up that was worth it. And a lot of the stuff they're talking about is going through the shot without actually taking the shot. Something that I've always worked on, and in particular with athletes in general, we go through breathing protocols, because the way that you breathe while you're going through something like that can really help to either up or down regulate your stress. And so if you're breathing short and shallow, and it's like mouth breathing, or even if it's like fast in through your nose and you're not getting full breath in, what it can do is activate your sympathetic nervous system, so your like fight or flight mode, which is probably what we're typically going to be in when we're out hunting. But if you can start to calm the system down and put you more into like a parasympathetic nervous system, what's going to happen is you start to widen your view, and essentially it's better for getting into a flow state. So what that means when you're going to, even before you start to draw or before you're going through the process, there's two ways to think about it. So one would be slowing your exhale down. So for instance, if you breathed in for 4 seconds, you'd want to exhale for 8 seconds. So like almost doubling the length of the exhale.
Double it.
Yeah. The other thing, and this is something that I've heard that's used for professional dart players, is essentially if you think about keeping a neutral chin or a neutral spine, so you're tucking your chin back, holding just a regular position. What you're trying to do, if you can imagine where it's called pretty much your occiput, which is the bottom of, or where your neck meets your skull. There's like that little bubble that's on the side there, or on the back there. And essentially what you're trying to do is breathe into that point of your head. And so by doing that, what you're doing is you're activating the right part of your brain to be really focused on the point. So like I said, something that they use for darts, because obviously they're trying to hit the triple 20s most of the time. So what they're doing is they're zoning in just on that one point. So it's very similar to what we're doing in archery. So what you're trying to do is essentially either slow, or what I typically do is I'll slow my exhales down before I even go to shoot. And then right when I'm shooting, I'll really think about breathing into that part of my head. And literally when I say breathing into it, it's like you're just focusing on trying to send the air or the energy there. Because as you breathe in, you can feel, if you think about it, you can feel the oxygen or the energy going to different parts of the body. So if you focus it into one part, it's kind of like essentially just focusing and trying to get into more of a flow state, as they'd call it. So I'd be intrigued to see if you try that out. And it's interesting what breath can do. And when you talk to a lot of the people in like SAS or into like your SWAT teams and stuff like that over in America, it's a lot of the work that they do is controlling their breath and controlling that situation, because if you can control your state, essentially like your stress state, you can have more control of a situation because of it. The other thing that actually we do a lot with athletes is getting them to visualize. So I don't know if you've ever gone through the shot process in your head. So thinking about what you're going through and visualizing actually taking good shots consistently. So doing that when you're laying in bed or when you hop up in the morning, just going through the thought process of going through the shot without actually taking the shot. It's all just going in your head, and you're like, okay, well, I position my feet, I pull back my bow, I find my anchor point, and then I take my shot. And then you just imagine hitting the bullseye every time. And just that is quite powerful as well. It's like, there's actually been studies of people who've not done weightlifting but just visualized doing weightlifting and then gone out and PB'd their lifts. So it's pretty powerful stuff,
One thing that Brad did say was to really, really stare and burn a hole into where you want to hit.
Mm-hmm.
So what he said was it's natural for our minds and eye to want things to align. So your people naturally align with your scope housing and obviously your pin will just, if you take yourself out of it, because we're the ones that fuck it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're just constantly focusing on where you want that, where you want to hit, that pin will basically find itself there. And last couple of days, I've really noticed that it really does. Like I'll be just constantly looking at the white dot on my target, focus, and then I'll go out of focus on the white dot and check my pin, and it's just there.
Yeah,
like
wow.
it's and without actually seeing the pin, because I'm so focused on the white dot on my target. But once you focus out of the white dot, the pin's actually already there.
Yeah, that's cool. I actually remember him.
Yeah.
So I think I interviewed him about the third episode or something that I did with this podcast. And that was one of the major things I definitely took away from the episode that he said. He said the same thing, like going with your shot process, but then when you're looking is to really, think about where you're looking. So I've got a Reinhardt target, and a lot of the target is like, it's essentially like a circle made up of 4 quarter circles. And so what I'll often think about, and maybe a circle in the middle, I think from memory, but what I'll often think about is like, okay, on my circle, I'm going to get in between the line of one of my quarter circles. Like that's what I'll aim for rather than aiming for the circle, like the middle of the circle, for instance. And it's interesting once you narrow that focus, like aim small, miss small, that whole concept. Like once you start to focus on that, it really does make a big difference.
No, I completely understand and agree there. I've noticed, like in the last few days doing what I'm doing, it's brought those groups right in. And don't get me wrong, like I'm only shooting from 10 to 15 yards at the moment while I'm working on this. Like I'll do some longer distance stuff down at our range as well, but while I'm working on this, I just want to keep it nice and close. And but even not really aiming, and I'm talking there the other day, I cut out a piece of white paper. It was probably 10-inch square of white paper and put it on my target. And without even aiming and just looking at that piece of white paper, the arrows were going dead set in the middle of that piece of paper. Automatically, and after about half an hour of doing that, I was like, I can only shoot one arrow at a time because the groups were just like the 3 arrows that I was shooting were all touching each other. So awesome. I just went back to shooting one arrow. But it's just crazy how the mind works. Like on a piece of paper that big, the arrow just naturally finds its way into the center. That's what Brad said. It actually does work. Everything just aligns and it just finds its own way there. If you can remove yourself as much as you can from the shot,
from the situation,
but. Yeah, I've probably got a long way to go yet, mate. But
I think even just the fact that you're sharing it is huge, right? Like so many people, I think that this is where the ego gets in the way, and then they don't share that stuff, and that's literally like they'll just battle with it in silence. Whereas, like from you putting the post up, obviously you've now gained some extra help from Brad on it, which is huge. But also, I think it also opens up for other people to see that it's a thing that probably a lot of bow hunters are going to suffer from.
Mate, to be honest, like if anyone has shot a bow long enough and can see their mate next to them shoot the shot, you'll know straight away whether they got target panic or not, and they can deny it as much as they want, but the proof's there. I think there's more people out there with target panic than people like to admit. Definitely. And anyone that's shot enough arrows, they'd pick me out, straight away. So there's no point denying it. Just throw your cards on the table and try to fix it.
I often think until you're able to go onto like the 3D courses and punch 10 rings all day, like I don't think like it's not an easy thing to go and do. And until you're at that stage, like you can always do something more to improve yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember watching one of those Levi Morgan's YouTube things there when I was going through target panic a while ago, and I remember him saying he was up on the shooting block, and he's like, "Man, I'm shaking. Why am I so nervous? No one else is going to be nervous." However he worded it, but he watched the guy next to him shoot, and the guy next to him was shaking like a bloody dog shitting razor blades as well.
I remember seeing that video, like as soon as you said that.
And like we're all in the same boat here, so just share the info. Own your faults, and try to get better. There's no point denying it. If you can get better, why not?
No, exactly. No, I think that's awesome, man. And like I said, good on you for sharing it. But I think that's probably a good place to wrap it, Lonnie.
Cool.
Yeah, appreciate your time, dude, and appreciate the stories. I think it's been another great podcast. I think one that probably a lot of people hopefully get a lot out of. So once again, your handle on Instagram is just at Lonnie Broekman. At Lonnie.Broekman. Broekman being Broekman.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
That's the one. But look, I'm happy to share some videos or whatever on the journey, and hopefully in the near future it'll be gone.
Yeah, man. Yeah, wishing you all the luck for it.
Get back to shooting how it should be.
But I think the big part of that is that obviously everyone can strive to be better with their shooting, right? Like you can, until you're punching those 10s, it's a hard thing to do. But
and even those guys have their days too. Don't worry.
Yeah, definitely.
That even those guys are going to go back and do their drills and reset and recalibrate and go forward as well. I don't think everyone is out of the woodwork with target panic. I think everyone suffers from it at some stage.
Yeah, I definitely know. I punch the trigger a lot. It's like it's part of it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
All good.
Yeah, Lonnie Broekman, everyone. Thank you very much, dude.
See you, mate.
That wraps up this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining us, team. If you did have any topics, questions, or you wanted to suggest a guest for Becoming a Bowhunter, you can send me an email at matty@becomingabowhunter.com. If you are enjoying the show or you've enjoyed in particular episodes, please do me a solid and share it around with your friends. If you are not already, please hit the subscribe button, as the more subscribers we get, the higher the podcast gets ranked, and that definitely helps out for showing it to other individuals. If you are not already following me on Instagram, it's at becomingabowhunter.podcast, and on YouTube, it's Becoming a Bowhunter. Get out, team, fling some arrows, get that practice in, and walk those yards in the paddocks until you find those critters. That is it for now, but not the last time that you'll hear from Becoming a Bowhunter.